Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to Sunday Career Success. There we go. Excellent. My name is Bill, the company's expert. Welcome to the live stream today. Or do you call this a podcast? I'm not sure. I think 10 years ago, you used to call these things podcasts. I'm not sure if that's the case anymore. Anyway, we are live. This is a Q&A session, and there is a chat in the live stream so that you can type in your questions for those who are not super familiar with this. So say who you are, say where you're from, and I look forward to getting your questions. Today, the topic of this chat that I was going to talk about while we're waiting for questions is LinkedIn profile. And this is a kind of a continuation in a way of what I was talking about last week, which was networking and the hidden job market. As many people know, networking is the number one way of getting a job. Okay, it's not actually responding to job ads, like job ads on the internet. That's the default thing that a lot of people start out doing. But, and a conservative estimate is 75% of all jobs are filled through networking. Okay, you're not actually responding to a job ad. You're just sort of broadcasting to your group of people you know that you are looking for a job. You're basically saying, hey, I'm right here and I can do work and I'm great at this. And if you're looking for someone that can do this, let me know. Let's talk. That's kind of the idea, right? And that kind of paves the way for today's topic, which is about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an incredible tool to do networking. So we're going to talk about that. And in particular, we're going to talk about the whole jumping off point where you create your profile. And it's a particularly interesting topic to me because I feel like I run the gamut. I deal with people, a lot of CEOs, a lot of executives, a lot of board members, and then it goes all the way down where I'm dealing with a lot of students, a lot of international students, a lot of domestic students, people in their early 20s, kind of just starting out, and you got to start somewhere, right? And one of the things that they do is they try and get their LinkedIn profile together. And sometimes they make some rookie mistakes. So we're going to go through those, kind of the basics, and then I'm going to give a little bit of tips for more higher level stuff, depending on what you're trying to do with your LinkedIn profile. So maybe what we should do is we should just dive right into that. Okay, so this is for people that you're just starting out and you might be looking for a job right now, or you are employed right now. Despite recent events and the disruption that's caused, but you have a job and you are looking to, shall we say, further your career, open up career prospects, open up opportunities, including opportunities that are not publicly posted. And that's the whole point of networking. A lot of times there's a lot of hiring managers out there, people that are capable of hiring, of filling a position. They're managing people and they have to hire someone. They have to fill another position. And usually the way this works is that is not broadcasted publicly. They don't throw up a job ad on a website or on the internet or even on a bulletin board. And instead, they kind of just think, I need to fill this position. I need to get someone that I know is going to be good. And they go to their personal network. They think of who they know. And a great way to do that and to basically present yourself, offer yourself up as a candidate is through LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an incredible tool for this. So I'm assuming everybody here listening and participating is familiar with LinkedIn. So let's start at the very beginning here. When you join LinkedIn, like a lot of social networking sites, you create a profile, you create a user ID, password, blah, 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 and then you create a profile, which is essentially a sort of souped up version of your resume, so that people can go to your page and they can see who you are and your vital information. And it starts with your name. So now this is so basic, but I know with a lot of students, in the past, I've had to sort of explain this to students that, okay, when you write your name, you need to start with a capital letter. You need to capitalize each of your names, your first name, last name, and middle names if you have them. And make it clear, what is your name? I know that sounds very basic, but I have encountered a lot of people that, they contact you on LinkedIn and you're not clear exactly what their name is. Either you don't know the first name, last name thing, or they give several different names and it's very confusing. So make sure it's very, very clear. The other thing is that, and this comes down, we're going to get into this a little bit deeper later on, but it comes down to what the purpose of your LinkedIn profile is. So something I've noticed with international students, for example, or if you're doing business, globally, let's say you're from China, you speak Mandarin or Cantonese or whatever, and you write your name with Chinese characters, Chinese symbols. And the issue becomes, if you're communicating with people in China, if that's who you're expecting to see your LinkedIn profile, then great, there's no issue. But if you're communicating with people that are in the West, they're in the United States, they're in Europe, they're in Canada, they're in Brazil, places like this, then if you have your name written in the Chinese characters, that might cause a bit of a problem. People don't know how to pronounce your name, they don't know how to say your name because they don't speak Chinese. So make sure that your name is written in sort of a universal as you possibly can, or intended for your targeted audience. Okay, so if you create your LinkedIn profile primarily to connect with your business contacts that you do business with, your contact people in other companies, which are business partners, and maybe they speak English or they speak a different language, make sure that your name is written in a way they can understand. Okay. Number 2, your professional photo, or your photo, maybe not so professional, depending on who we're talking about. It's interesting because I get a lot of people asking me, what are the requirements for the photo, like to make a good profile? And the perspective I'm coming from here is basically from a professional business profile. So if you're looking to use your LinkedIn profile to create job opportunities for you, to create opportunities for promotion, and you want to move sideways in your industry to a different company, things like this, that's the perspective I'm coming from here. I know that LinkedIn, like other platforms like Facebook, is not necessarily all about business. It used to be, but LinkedIn has been branching out into other areas. People are using it for more recreational stuff. But where I'm coming from is from the perspective of career opportunities. So your photo for your career opportunities, it should be, let me put it this way. I've had people connect to me, and you look at their photo on their LinkedIn profile, and there isn't one person in the photo. There's like 3 people, and they're all partying and they're all drunk. And you're not sure of who the person is that is the owner of the profile, because there's 3 people there. So number 1, have one person. Okay. Number 2, don't post a photo that you took at a party. You're sort of living it up. You need to take a professional photo. And what that means is that you need to have a headshot. And what a headshot is it's very similar to, I think, what you see of me right now in the live chat. You're getting the full head and you're getting some of the shoulders. Okay. Obviously it's going to be more square, but instead of rectangular like it is in this live stream. But that's a headshot. Now, you don't need to get it professionally done. You can take a headshot with, just with a cell phone camera. That's perfectly fine, perfectly acceptable. The background should be better than the background I have behind me right now. This is not the greatest background. What you'd want to do is take a picture where you're standing up against a wall and you've got a sort of solid color background on the wall behind you. So like any wall that's painted white, gray, yellow, whatever, that would be perfect, right? A nice solid background and you standing in front of it, and you get a shot just of your head. Now, a couple other points about the photo. Number 1, you should look approachable. Okay, I've seen a lot of profiles where people they're looking really unapproachable. They've got this big scowl, they're just kind of looking really intense, with the wild eyes. And that's not what you're going for. You want to look approachable. You want to look like someone that people want to work with, want to talk to, want to do business with. Okay, so the good thing to do is to smile. And if you're not, a type of person like me that, that smiles, with the giant white teeth, at least look approachable, at least look pleasant and approachable. Okay. If you have a picture where you look like upset, you look sad, you look angry, that's not a good professional photo in my experience. I've also seen executives that, and I've commented on this before, that are under the misapprehension that appearing, especially guys, but I have seen women that do this too, that are under the misapprehension that being, they have to be the alpha, and by being rude, gruff, aloof, and intense, that's being the alpha, and being unfriendly, where you look just, like, who are you to think you can talk to me? That kind of demeanor. So I'm sorry, that just doesn't work. I mean, all things being equal, would you rather do business with or talk to someone who looks friendly and approachable and pleasant, or would you rather approach and do business with or hire someone who looks like a serial killer? It's pretty clear. Okay, you need to look pleasant and approachable. Usually most executives are experts on the interpersonal skills, communication skills, appearing professional, appearing disarming, appearing friendly. I mean, there are exceptions to this, but generally people at that level, you realize this is part of what you have to do. So, okay, so friendly photo, okay, you look approachable. And the kind of final piece is that people say, well, do I have to dress up? And I would say, it's that kind of cliched thing that everybody says, that, dress for the job you want, right? So I would say at least business casual. And if you're a manager, a mid-level manager, if you're an executive, if you're wanting to become one of those, then business formal. That means tie if you're a guy, and if you're a lady, the appropriate sort of suit. So that's kind of the photo, right? Very important. That's the first thing people see, and a lot of times people will make judgments about you either consciously or subconsciously based on your photo. So it's very important to get the photo right. Doesn't have to be pro. You don't have to be super shy about it. Just take a photo where you look reasonably friendly, neutral background, at least business casual, so you look professional and look approachable. Okay, so now we got the name and the photo out of the way. Let's get to the rest of the profile. Okay, everybody's favorite thing, the tagline. The tagline, ladies and gentlemen. LinkedIn provides room for a tagline. And this is like a title that goes under your name. And in that field, you can type whatever you want. Okay? Now, I believe it's still, the way LinkedIn still works is that the default tagline that auto-populates if you don't type in anything is the title of your current position. So if you're currently working at, at a company at let's say you're at McDonald's, my favorite company, the gold standard for employment. I'm just kidding. So let's say you work at McDonald's and your title, let's say, is a night manager or something like that. Okay. So if you create a LinkedIn profile, you put in your name, you put in your photo, and you don't type anything for the tagline will say night manager. Okay. So that will be your tagline. Now the tagline, I would say, is probably like after your photo, it's the most important piece of information on your LinkedIn profile. Okay. People really underestimate the importance and the power of the tagline because this is who you are to people who don't know you. Okay. Now think about it. I deal with a lot of students. I teach in a university. I deal with students, HR students, and a common thing is that let's pretend that you already, you've already gone through high school, you've already gone out and had career type jobs. Okay, so maybe you worked in sort of an entry level position in a company, and maybe you got promoted, you worked at a slightly higher position in another company, but then you went back to school. Okay, so right now your occupation is student, right? You're studying, whatever you're studying. Now the question is, in LinkedIn, what should you put for a tagline? Because you could say student. Who are you? Well, my name is Bill Todd. Here's my picture, and I'm a student. And that's who you are to the person, right? Or you could say, my name is Bill Todd. Here's my photo, and I am a middle manager at this company in this industry. That's who you are. I'm a middle manager in the railroad industry. That's who I am. So you can think of this as an equivalent of like you going up to somebody and introducing yourself and saying, this is who I am. And in their minds, that's who you are. Okay, that's like the little piece of information about who you are. Now, I see we got a question in the chat, and it's great, by the way. There's AT. So it says, so AT says, who should be the first people you connect with the new LinkedIn profile? Okay, that's a good one. We're talking about connecting to people. So the first people you should connect to are well, in order to answer this, we need to talk about what the purpose of your profile is. Now, for most people, if the purpose of your LinkedIn profile is to connect with professionals in the same industry as yourself and create job opportunities, okay, so a way to tap the hidden job market, then this is what you should do. Okay, assuming that's your goal, the first few people you're going to connect with are going to be people that you already have a relationship with at your job. Okay, so if you are a middle manager at this organization, or you are a shipping clerk or a invoicing person at this, shipping receiving company, presumably you will have a contact list, what we used to call a Rolodex. I didn't used to call that, but people before me used to call it that, a Rolodex of business contacts. In order for you to do your job, you would have a list of people you would be regularly on the phone with, on email with, right? A lot of those people would be at your company, but a lot of them would be outside your company. Okay, so if you regularly, let's say you're a shipping receiving person or an invoicing person, people in your contact list would be, you'd be regularly talking to the accounting department in your own company. You'd be regularly talking to the HR department in your own company. And then outside your company, you would regularly be talking to customs people, maybe other transportation companies, maybe your clients. So if you are a shipping company, you are shipping goods made by other companies, and you would occasionally be talking to those other companies. So those would be the first people that you would connect with. That's kind of the place where you start building a network. It's around people you already know in real life, right? Business people in your industry. Okay, that's where you start. So it's a great question. And then the hope for this is that you would start with a core of business contacts that are legitimate connections for you. Okay. Now, some people have a problem with this because if you are talking on the phone, every couple of days at your job to a business contact, you might be a little bit sensitive about you showing them essentially your entire resume, which is what your LinkedIn profile is. So what a lot of people do is they start off by not completing their LinkedIn profile, not filling in every field that they could enter, because they feel a little bit sensitive about disclosing, okay, here's my entire education history, here's my entire work experience history. And if that's you, you're not alone, you're not unusual. That's a totally common thing. Some people tend to get more comfortable with posting that stuff to their profile. in time. Other people don't. They just prefer to keep it confidential. So you have a resume that you use for actual hiring type situations, and you have a LinkedIn profile that has less, it's like a subset of your resume, and you use that to create job opportunities through networking. Now, after you connect with that group of people, another option you can do is you can use LinkedIn search to get on there, and you can search for people at certain companies. So if, I don't know, if you want to, hypothetically, let's say you want to connect to people in a company that company is your competitor, okay? Because maybe there might be job opportunities at your competitor. Maybe there might be job opportunities at, other companies that do what your company does, but in other geographic locations, okay? So you can use the search function, and that's probably a whole video in itself, just talking about LinkedIn search. But the bottom line is that you need connections for search to show you search results, because usually, at least the way it used to work a few years ago when this thing got really big, was it only shows you first degree connections, secondary connections, or third degree connections. If people are not connected to you, they don't know anyone that you know, or anyone that you know that they know, right? Like there's no connection whatsoever between you and them, with no matter amount of degrees of separation. You need connections for them to show up in search results. So the more connections you have, the more valuable the search function will be. And you can target, you can say, I want to connect to a lot of people in this particular company. And you can do that. Okay, but the way in is to start with a group of first degree connections. So thank you for the question. Hopefully that answers your question. That's a huge topic. So we're going to get back into that maybe later in the stream and in future streams. Okay, so I was talking about a tagline. So the tagline is your identity, who you are. And what I was saying was that if you are a student, you're a person who's had a career, and you're also currently a student, now you're a little conflicted, because do you say, hello, my name is Bill, I'm a student? Or do you say, hello, my name is Bill, I'm a middle manager in the railroad industry, or something like that, right? Those would be two alternatives, two options to use as your tagline. So the key to knowing what to put is to think about what your audience is going to be. Okay, what purpose does your LinkedIn profile serve? And so who are you expecting, who are you hoping will see this, and what will be their behavior, hopefully? Okay, so for example, if you are looking for a career, if you're wanting to get a promotion, you're wanting to move to an upper middle management position, or maybe even executive position at a smaller company, then you probably wouldn't put student. Okay, you would probably say, okay, I'm a middle manager in this industry. On the other hand, if you are wanting to get informational interviews, which is something that LinkedIn is amazing for, if you say you're a student, people are more inclined to talk to you, because someone saying, I'd very much like to talk to you, and I'd very much, if you could spare half an hour, we could go grab a coffee. And they say, oh, I'm a student, and I'm just hoping to learn about this industry. That's pretty non-threatening. That's pretty, a pretty legitimate request, as opposed to someone who says, oh, I'm a middle manager in an advertising company. I'd like to talk to you. Then it would be, well, I don't know. Okay, what exactly is this person's motivation? Are they trying to get me to buy something? Are they trying to get me to hire them? I don't like the fact that there might be a sort of ulterior motive other than what they say. They say they just want to ask me some questions, but I suspect there might be a hidden motive. So I'd be less inclined to accept that kind of invitation. Okay, so your tagline makes a big difference. When you introduce yourself, it's who you are to that person. Now, the question is, who do you want to be to that person? Do you want to be seen as a student, or do you want to be seen as someone who's a middle manager in this industry? Now, this is particularly important for people who they haven't had a linear career path. They've maybe jumped around. They've worked in this industry for a couple of years, and then they've jumped over into this other industry for a couple of years. First they were working in the transportation industry, and then they moved over to engineering, but then they didn't like engineering, so they moved over to, marketing and sales, right? Now, the problem is when you introduce yourself and say, hi, my name is X and I am blank. What do you say? Do you say you're the thing you do now, which is maybe you're in sales and marketing, or the thing that you've had 15 years experience in, which is maybe engineering and transportation, right? If you've only been in sales and marketing for like a year and you're at a very junior level, do you identify with that, and do you just not mention that you had a very fruitful 15-year career in this other industry, right? So it's very important to get the tagline correct. And the general rule of thumb is to think, who do you want to be perceived as? Because if you have a couple of choices there, depending on your goal for being on LinkedIn and what you're trying to get out of it, and who your market is, who you're expecting to see your profile and respond to you, you need to think, who do I want to be to them? Okay? So that will lead you to maybe an answer to what you should put for your tagline. Very important. Very important to get the tagline correct. And it may take some trial and error, and that's fine. But a lot of people underestimate this. A lot of people simply leave it as the sort of default thing, which is your current title. And that may not necessarily be who you want to be perceived as. Okay? For example, if you feel you have a lot of potential, but you're currently working in maybe a lower level job right now, you don't want your tagline to be the title of your lower level job, because that's who you will be to people seeing your profile. You want to say, like, look, I'm an expert in this, or I'm an authority in this, or I'm a manager, or I'm a very capable manager, I'm a manager in this industry, something like that. So the question is, who do you want to be? So very important. Okay, contact info. Contact info is another thing on LinkedIn. In your profile, there is a place under your sort of tagline area that contains contact info. And here, this is a place where you can put your phone number, your email address. You can put other, social networking accounts and things like that, your Facebook account, whatever. And it's interesting because I get the impression that most people, most students, most professionals, they don't take advantage of this. Now, I'm not saying you should necessarily post contact information, but you should have something there. Okay. If somebody sees your profile and says, hey, I'd very much like to contact you for this reason, maybe there's a job opportunity, maybe there's some potential contracting work, maybe they want to consult you about something, maybe they just want to ask you a question. These are the types of things that can lead to a lot of job opportunities, either full-time positions or consulting, contract work, consulting and contract work. So you want to make it easy for people to contact you. Now, if you run into issues where people are spamming you, you address that. But you do want to make it easy for if like a recruiter or somebody wants to contact you, or an executive wants to contact you and bring you in and consult with you, you need to make it easy. So you got to put something. Now, what I'd recommend is that if you're not comfortable putting your email address, you create an alias email address. Okay. This is very simple to do. You can go to Google, you can go to Outlook.com, you can go to Yahoo, whatever email provider, of your choice. And you create a new email address. And what you do is you set up forwarding. Very, very simple. You go to options, you set up your forwarding rules, and you say, any email sent to this email address, I want you to forward it to my main email address. Okay. That way people still can contact you, but you don't post your main email address publicly and risk it being picked up by, bots and things like that are just going to send you spam mails and all this. Okay. So, but you should have something there. You should have an easy way for people to contact you. Some people are comfortable putting their phone number, like a business phone number or something. Absolutely okay. Some people are not, and that's cool. You don't have to, but you got to have something. Okay. It kind of defeats the purpose of having a LinkedIn profile if you are making it hard for people to reach you. Okay. So that's what I'll say about contact info. Then you get a section called, it used to be called, I think, bio, but now it's called about. And it's a place where you can type in a paragraph. You can have a whole paragraph, a blurb about you. And it's funny because some people like to write pages and pages about themselves in very small print. That is an absolute joy to read, that many people read. And I'm being sarcastic, of course. Here you have a chance to write a little, essentially an elevator pitch about you. If you are a sales marketing type person, you know what an elevator pitch is. It's like 30 seconds where you introduce yourself in 30 seconds. You say, here's who I am. Here's what I do. Here's what I can help you with, the end, right? And you give your contact information, but that you do that in a different section on LinkedIn. Okay, so it's like an elevator pitch. Now, once again, depending on what industry you're in, depending on what audience you're going for, you would do different things here. But if you don't know, what I would suggest is just you write something relatively short. Don't write like an entire page about yourself, your entire life history and all your food dislikes. Write something that's maybe a few lines, like 5 or 6 sentences, something like this. And they just summarize, kind of like an elevator pitch. They say, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is my talent, my strengths. This is what I can do for you. I specialize in this. I have experience in this, and then just keep it short. Because people get bored very easily when they are on the internet, they're on social networking. They're not going to read, most people will not read your entire text if you write a big long thing. It's like a cover letter. Just, you want to cut to the chase. So for your bio, which is the about section, do that. Now, it needs to be professional. There can't be any spelling mistakes in it. There can't be any grammatical mistakes in it, because that signals a bunch of negative things. It signals that either you don't care enough to write properly, or you don't know enough to write properly. I'm not sure which one is worse, but those are both bad. So make sure that it's spelled correctly. There's no grammatical errors. You run it through all the spell checkers and all this kind of stuff, grammar checkers, and it's professional. No slang, no profanity, which I have seen surprisingly on LinkedIn, and people would write, you want to talk like a professional. These are things that signal who you are. You can say, oh yeah, I'm this, but then all the other things you post on your profile, they signal whether that's true, right? So if you say, oh yeah, I'm the CEO of a, blue chip company, but then you misspell the word business in the next line, obviously that's going to send signals, right? So it's that principle. You want to make sure that it's very professionally written. And a good thing here, as with all of this, is to run it by a friend or colleague and just say, can you give me your opinion on this? And then if there's any red flags that maybe you, who can't be objective about your own stuff very well, maybe your friend or colleague can identify stuff. Okay, so that's the bio section. Now, we get to the meat and potatoes of this, where you write your experience. And I've seen all kinds. I've seen people that write pages and pages about each job they've had. And I've seen people that, they just say, oh yeah, I worked at this company. No dates, no title, no details, nothing. So it kind of runs the gamut, right? And once again, there is no one right answer that you should do. It's gonna depend on who you're going to. So a good thing to do is, if you're looking for understanding maybe how much information you should put, go to other people's LinkedIn profile, the people that you're expecting to see your LinkedIn profile that could maybe help you, and see what they put. Okay, see how much information they put, and then you can emulate that. Now, hard, fast mechanical rules here is that you need to get, if it's experience, you need to get the name of the company perfectly accurate. You can't garble the name of the company. You need to spell it correctly, and you need to include your title. Okay, and often it's probably a good idea to include the years that you worked there. So if you started in 2016 and you worked till 2018, you could at least say 2016 to 2018. You don't necessarily have to put in the month. Some people like to put in the day and the month, and that's okay. But at least the year. The year is the important thing. Some people insist upon. I know a lot of recruiters insist upon. They want to know the exact day and month. So if you're comfortable doing that and you know it, you can put those in. But I think for most people, just putting the years is perfectly adequate. Okay, education. Once again, it's very important that you get the name of the school correctly. I've seen a lot of my students' LinkedIn profile. I've seen probably about 500 students' LinkedIn profile who have been my students. And it's amazing to me how a lot of them can't get the name of the university or the school correct. Don't use a nickname for the school. Don't use an abbreviated version of it. Write out the name of the school so it's clear. A lot of times LinkedIn will, if you type in the name of a school, it will identify that and, sort of do an autocomplete so that it matches the exact name. And then you get the little icon that appears, as the logo for that particular school or university. Okay. So make sure that is correct. This stuff is going to be very important later on if you're writing or receiving recommendations from people. You need to get the name of the school and, employers accurate. Okay. Now, a general rule for people who don't know is that if you haven't completed a program, but you're in the program, okay, don't say that you have it if it's not complete. Okay. Now, if you're a current student of a school and say you're taking let's say you're taking a master's degree in biology, okay? But you're 2 years into, say, a 4-year program. Don't put on your LinkedIn profile or on your resume for that matter that you have a master's degree in biology. Okay. The way you do it is you can put that on your LinkedIn profile or on your resume, but you have to say you are a candidate. So you would say master's degree in biology candidate, something like that. Okay. If you don't say candidate, I know a lot of recruiters will take that very badly. They'll say, okay, you're being dishonest. So therefore, we will not consider you for any position because we can see that you're lying. You're not trustworthy. That casts doubt on your professional reputation. And it might be you didn't realize that, you had to include that. Okay. So this is particularly true of people that are, maybe you're 80 prem and you want to get some credit for it. So you want to include it, but you're worried that, you haven't actually graduated and you haven't received your certification yet or your qualification yet. Well, that's what you do. You just write candidate. So if you're taking an MBA, you would write MBA candidate. There you go. Now there's some sections at the bottom of a LinkedIn profile. One of them is the volunteer section. And it is good to include stuff there. I know people have said that for years, and sometimes it, some situations they don't really care about this, but some places do. They actually do care about volunteer stuff, especially if the volunteer activity that you've done, it signals something about your interests or your personality or your potential. Okay, so fill in that. Take the trouble to fill in that section if you have done volunteer stuff. If you've ever been part of a charitable organization, if you've you work with children, you coach soccer, you do things on the side. You go to, I don't know if Toastmasters would count. I guess it doesn't, but not as volunteer. But anything you can put in there would be good because it signals that you have a bit of personality. And I do know that some recruiters will require, they won't tell you this, but they will almost require there to be volunteer activities before they consider you. Okay, that has happened before. And the reasoning is that we want somebody that's more than just doing a job to get money. We want them to be personally invested. We want them to want to help people. We want the type of people that will, give back, that will be personally invested in what they do, that, have a sense of ethics or, it can signal many of those things. So for that reason, I would take the trouble to fill in the volunteer section if you do have stuff. Skills is another section that's kind of fallen from favor. About 5 years ago, I know LinkedIn put a lot of emphasis on the skills section. So you can say the things that you've done. And then the way it would work is that other LinkedIn people in your network can essentially endorse you for those skills. They say, yes, this person does have, the ability to, speak Chinese, or something, whatever dialect or whatever subdialect. So skills used to be very important. It's not quite, it's been sort of downgraded recently, like in the last couple of years. You never really hear about it, but, it would be good to fill that out, especially if you have non-generic kind of skills that, like, instead of saying, I've got people skills and I've got typing skills and I can use Microsoft Word. If you have very specific skills that differentiate you from a lot of other people, not a lot of people have this skill, then I would seriously consider putting it in. As well as common skills that recruiters would look for if you are applying for, posted jobs through recruiters. I personally haven't done that in over 10 years. It's, for a very long time. But if that's kind of the approach you're doing, that's what you're using this for, then yes, if they're looking for people skills and they're looking for this, it doesn't do you any harm to have in your skill section that you have people skills and have 30 people endorsing you for it that say, yes, this person does have this skill. Okay, the power is in the endorsement. It's not really what you say you have. It's what other people have confirmed that you have. That's the power of the skills function. And then interest. Interest kind of auto-populates if you join LinkedIn groups. So if you join a group about, I don't know, cooking or data, big data in, analyzing, customer markets or something like that. If you join a group, that name of the group will show up. If you're following a company, you're interested in a particular organization or a particular YouTube influencer, like a famous person, those will show up under interests. So you don't really add things there specifically. It gets populated when you say, I want to follow this person or this company, or I like this particular thing. It'll auto-populate to the interest section. So those are the different sections. There's one section remaining in a LinkedIn profile, and that is the recommendation section. Okay, now, is the recommendation function on LinkedIn the be-all, end-all? No, it's not, but it is very useful. Okay, it does carry a lot of weight. If you have 20 recommendations from previous bosses, from previous coworkers or current coworkers, that says something. So that's definitely something worth pursuing. So what you can do is a first step to this is if you are connected to people in real life, you have coworkers, you have business contacts, you can send them a note, like you either call them up or talk to them face to face or send them an email. I mean, whatever channel, and say, look, would you be okay writing a recommendation for me on LinkedIn? Now, some people, in my experience, some people, they are not on LinkedIn. They're unfamiliar with LinkedIn, and they're very busy, so they won't. Okay, that's what I found. Even people that are like good friends, good, close relationships, it just won't happen. But for other people, it will. Okay, other people that you're connected to, maybe younger people who are more, tuned in to social networking and the stuff and how to use LinkedIn, things like that. Okay. They will tend to do this. Okay. And I've been very fortunate. I've had a lot of people that have, agreed quite enthusiastically to write me, some LinkedIn recommendations. So over the years. So, this is a very useful thing to have. So, one of the complaints I've heard about this over the years was that it's a, quid pro quo, tit for tat. It's, I'll write you a LinkedIn recommendation if you write me one. And that stuff happens, okay? Where, what you end up with is you end up writing recommendations for people that you wouldn't normally recommend, but you're just hoping, you're doing it, you're motivated by the fact that they're going to write you one. So it kind of loses its power. The whole purpose of this is kind of negated because they're not legitimate. And that has happened. But it's the people, it's who's writing it to you. If you can get your previous supervisors, bosses, managers, superiors to write you recommendations, and you have a list of those, that says a lot. If you go to previous coworkers and say, hey, would you mind writing me a LinkedIn recommendation? And they do. Now, this is a numbers game. Like a lot of things, like the whole process of getting a job, really, especially by networking, it's a numbers game. The more people you ask, the more recommendations you're going to end up with. So if it's like a 10% success rate or a 5% success rate, what that means is that if you ask 20 people to write you a recommendation, one person does. That would be a 5% success rate. If you go to 100 people, you got 5 good reviews right there. So if you really rack your brain, most people can find 100 people, coworkers, people you've worked with, people you've been to school with. If you're a student right now, you hopefully know other students in your classes, in your program. Instructors. You know people. If you really think about it, you know a lot of people. So if you connect with them on LinkedIn and say, would you mind writing me a recommendation? If you feel comfortable doing that, I'd appreciate it. No pressure. A lot of people usually will step up. You'll get people that will step up and you'll have a bunch of recommendations. And once again, the power of this function is in who does it, who endorses it, who writes them. Okay? So these are often overlooked functions of LinkedIn, but they are very, very powerful if you use them correctly. So if you have a LinkedIn profile, you're familiar with LinkedIn, I highly encourage you to check out some of these extra features. They're very, very useful. And they can really open doors. Okay. Now, what will this get you? Okay. If you follow sort of some of these guidelines that I'm suggesting here, what will be the end result? Well, number one, if you are using networking to find a job, okay, to find job opportunities, which is something that anyone can do, whether you are currently unemployed or employed, okay, having a great profile, that will be the gateway to it. Because then when you do other things on LinkedIn, you connect to people, you send messages, you do posts and say, hello, I'm here. I'm looking for, I have these skills. I can help people with this. So if you're looking for it, I could really help you. We should talk. Please let me know. If you're doing that kind of activity, you will get a lot more success if you have a great profile. Okay. Now, if you are not necessarily looking for a job through LinkedIn, through networking, maybe you are looking for consulting work. Okay. This also can open up doors too. It's like a form of marketing or personal marketing. So if you start doing posts, you do start doing direct messages to other people. your success rate will go way up if you have a good profile. If you have a problem, some red flags with your profile, things aren't filled in correctly, they're not filled in well, or they're left blank, your success rate will go way down. And it's a great thing to be able to, other than sending a resume. See, a lot of people think that, oh, I already have a resume, so why do I need to be on LinkedIn? Well, the power of LinkedIn is that, with the endorsements and with the recommendations, and even by who you're connected to sometimes, those give you credibility, and those can open up doors in themselves. That's something that goes beyond just a paper resume or a traditional resume, which is a static document that has no social connectivity to it. Okay? So that's the difference between a LinkedIn profile and a resume. And this is the power that can be tapped by having a great LinkedIn profile in addition to your resume. So I hope you found that interesting. Didn't have too many questions in the chat today, but that's fine. If you are listening to this, once again, I highly encourage you to subscribe to this channel. This is my live channel. I'm very new at the whole live stream thing, so I set up this channel just kind of as a secondary channel, just to get my chops down with live streaming. And so if you hear this, if you're fortunate enough to hear this, I do this show every Sunday, so once a week on Sundays, and I'm in Canada right now, and I'm in the central time zone here. Is it UMT plus 5? So it's central time in North America. So I do this at 2 p.m. Central. So I believe that's noon on the Pacific Coast, on the West Coast, and it's what would that be? 3 p.m. Eastern time. So I do this every Sunday, tune in every Sunday, and my main YouTube channel is The Company's Expert, and there's a link in the description. That's where I have far more subscribers. I'm doing it far longer. I have a lot of videos on how to get hired, how to get a job, how to do networking, how to tap the hidden job market, and how to answer a lot of job interview questions, as well as a bunch of entrepreneur type stuff where I help entrepreneurs, which is something I've done for a few years. So subscribe to my two channels, and I'm also on Facebook. There's a link in the description. I have a Facebook group called Get Hired, The Company's Expert, and I've got something like 160 people in there now, so that's great to see. So join the group if you are looking for like-minded people to share tips, share stories, and be able to help each other. And also, if you're looking for how to ace a job interview or how to get a job interview, how to get hired, I have a lot of videos on my regular channel called The Company's Expert. Be sure to subscribe to that. So thank you, everybody, for your attention today. I hope this helped in some way. If you have any questions and you'd like me to talk about a particular topic, let me know, because I've got so much experience and so much learning on this topic, but I don't know what people want to know about. So let me know that. And I see we have someone else, Harshita Anand, if I'm saying your name correctly, says, great session. Glad I attended. Thank you very much, Harshita. Thank you very much for tuning in. You are all awesome. I wish you nothing but the best, and I will see you next week. Take care, everyone.